Ibrahim Traore, betrayed the second time, Part 2, Eyes in the Dust. At 00000130, the sun burned low over Camp Zorgo as soldiers moved through drills with practiced precision. But tension hung in the air, not from the heat, but from something less visible: doubt. Commander Ibrahim Traore stood at the edge of the training field, his gaze locked on Corporal Yusuf. The young man moved through the rifle disassembly course with perfect timing, but Ibrahim wasn't watching his hands. He was watching his eyes. Since the intercepted message from an unknown number 3 nights ago, Ibrahim's instincts had sharpened. Something was off. The encrypted burst had originated near the camp. The contents? A single phrase: shipment confirmed. Phase 1 complete. 1:30 to 3. Traore ordered a full audit of the armory and surveillance logs. Nothing showed missing. But he knew better. If this was what he feared, infiltration, it wouldn't be loud or obvious. Captain Ndoye, Ibrahim's second-in-command, approached with a tablet. "We found something strange," Ndoye said. "Corporal Yusuf accessed the encrypted communications lab twice last week." "Under whose authority?" "None. The log was wiped and rewritten, badly." Ibrahim's eyes hardened. He's either working alone, or he's the tip of a larger spear. 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. That night, Ibrahim began tailing Yusuf himself. He moved like a ghost through the corridors. Around 0200 hours, he saw Yusuf slip out of his quarters, cradling a folded radio unit under his jacket. He climbed the rear scaffold, toward the observation ridge. Ibrahim followed at a distance. Under the cover of night, Yusuf set up the radio. The transmission was short, 5 words in code. Then he turned to leave and froze. Ibrahim stepped from the shadows. "Looking for better reception?" he asked coldly. Yusuf's hand hovered near his sidearm, but he didn't reach. "Commander," he said evenly, "didn't expect to see you here." "I doubt many spies expect to be caught." They locked eyes in silence. "I serve this nation," Yusuf said, "but you may not like what that means." Before Ibrahim could respond, a distant explosion rocked the compound. A diversion. 6U, or 8U. As sirens blared and soldiers scrambled to contain a burning munitions tent, Yusuf bolted, but Ibrahim was faster. He tackled him hard into the gravel. Guards swarmed seconds later. "I want him in solitary," Ibrahim barked. "No contact, no visitors, and sweep every inch of this base." As Yusuf was dragged away, he shouted something cryptic. "The fire is only the beginning." 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Inside an isolated concrete cell, Yusuf sat bloodied but unbroken. Ibrahim began the first of what would be 5 interrogations. But Yusuf gave nothing, only questions of his own. "What if I told you the real traitor wears a higher rank than me? What if this isn't treason, but justice? What if you're fighting the wrong war?" Each question left a deeper crack in the foundation of certainty. 10 to 12. Back in his quarters, Ibrahim received a secure file from an anonymous source. It included 2 things: a blurry photo of a uniformed soldier meeting with black market arms dealers near the Niger border. A voice recording, short, garbled, but unmistakably containing Ndoye's voice. Ibrahim listened 3 times. He couldn't believe it. 12 to 15. The next day, Ndoye sat across from Ibrahim in the commander's quarters. Ibrahim placed the tablet between them and hit play. Ndoye listened in silence, then leaned back. "You think I'm the traitor?" he asked. "Or just the one closest to the traitor?" Ibrahim stared him down. "Don't play games with me. You vouched for Yusuf. Who else are you shielding?" Ndoye stood. "Ibrahim, we are in a war beyond uniforms and flags. Do you know who funds our weapons? Who authorizes our missions? You think this is about Yusuf? It's not. It's about the rot inside the house." Silence. Then Ndoye said, You want answers? Ask General Bako. The thunder rolled low across the horizon, but it wasn't the weather that worried Commander Ibrahim Traore. He stood at the edge of the garrison's south perimeter, binoculars in hand, his sharp eyes sweeping the terrain beyond the fence. The sun had long dipped below the West African plains, leaving behind the fading hues of burnt orange and deep indigo. He wasn't expecting an attack, not yet. But betrayal seldom kept its appointments. Behind him, Camp Zorgo had fallen into a tense rhythm. Soldiers training harder, guards doubling shifts, and officers growing more suspicious of one another. The news that a possible infiltrator walked among them had spread like wildfire, despite Ibrahim's efforts to contain it. A leak was inevitable and dangerous. The suspect, Corporal Yusuf, had been quiet. Too quiet. Ibrahim turned away from the savannah and marched back toward the command tent where Captain Ndoye was waiting. A reliable officer with decades of service and eyes that missed nothing, Ndoye had spent the past 48 hours digging into Yusuf's records. "We have a problem," Ndoye said flatly, handing Ibrahim a worn personnel file. "Speak." Yusuf's identity checks out, superficially. "But I traced his recruitment file. The address listed? It belongs to a dead man, a real corporal who died during the Mopti ambush in Mali 2 years ago." Ibrahim's eyes narrowed. "And no one caught that during intake?" "It was doctored at the Federal Enlistment Center. Whoever slipped him in had access to high-level systems." A long silence passed. Then Ibrahim's jaw clenched. "We need to break him." At 2300 hours, the interrogation room was cold. Deliberately so. Corporal Yusuf sat shackled at the metal table, the overhead bulb casting long shadows across his face. He looked calm, annoyingly calm, even as sweat beaded at his brow. Ibrahim entered the room alone, dismissing the guards. "Corporal," he said, circling the table slowly. "You've been with us 6 months. You trained well. You blend in. Too well, in fact." "I serve the flag, Commander," Yusuf said evenly. "Whose flag?" Ibrahim snapped. Yusuf blinked, but didn't flinch. Ibrahim slammed a dossier onto the table. Photos spilled out. Surveillance images of Yusuf at odd hours, communications logs, a time-stamped shot of him entering the encrypted radio hut the night before the arms cache was raided. "You think we're fools?" Yusuf stared at the photos, then smiled faintly. "What are you afraid of, Commander? That your perfect little fortress isn't so impenetrable?" Ibrahim's knuckles tightened, but he kept his voice calm. "What is your objective here? Why Zorgo?" Still no reply. Ibrahim leaned in close. "You're not just a spy. You're a saboteur, and there's a network backing you." Yusuf said nothing, but something flickered in his eyes, a small crack in the facade. Then he muttered, "You're too late." Before Ibrahim could respond, a blast tore through the eastern wall of the compound. Chaos erupted, fire licked the sky, sirens wailed, soldiers scrambled into formation, and tracer rounds lit up the darkness. Ibrahim burst out of the room, radioing orders as he sprinted across the compound. "Attack on Sector East! All units to defensive positions! Secure the weapons cache!" But his mind wasn't just on the explosion. Yusuf's last words echoed in his head. "You're too late." This wasn't just sabotage. It was a coordinated assault. Back inside, Ndoye was already scanning drone footage. 2 trucks breached the gate using stolen UN markings. One peeled off toward the comms bunker, the other toward the fuel depot, Ibrahim finished grimly. This was an inside job. He looked at the monitor. One of the masked attackers moved with military precision, gesturing for his team to split and flank the bunkers. "Pause that," Ibrahim said. The image froze. The man's stance, his height, the build, it was unmistakable. "That's Captain Doumbia," Ndoye breathed. He's been listed MIA for a year. Or he defected, Ibrahim muttered. By 200 hours, the attack had been repelled. Barely. The fuel depot was lost, 2 soldiers dead and 4 others wounded. But they had captured one of the infiltrators alive, not Doumbia, but someone who recognized him. Ibrahim watched from behind the mirror as the prisoner was interrogated. "He leads the Black Crescent," the man stammered. "A rogue paramilitary group, funded by arms stolen from your own convoys. Yusuf fed them intel for weeks." "Where are they now?" "They have another target. Bigger. You're just the first crack in the wall." The next morning, Yusuf was gone. Escaped. No, not escaped. Helped. A forged keycard was found at the guard station. Surveillance showed a military vehicle leaving with him in the trunk. Ibrahim stood in the ruins of the comms tower, rage simmering beneath the surface. Someone inside Zorgo had aided the enemy. Another traitor. The enemy wasn't just on the outside anymore. Back in Ouagadougou, a closed-door emergency meeting was called. Ibrahim stood before the Defense Council, presenting evidence of Yusuf's infiltration, the Black Crescent's operation, and Doumbia's treachery. "Their aim is to destabilize our internal structure," Ibrahim concluded. "They want to fracture loyalty, turn our own men into question marks." A general scoffed. "And how do you propose we prevent that, Commander? Gut every soldier for secrets?" "No," Ibrahim said, voice steely. "We hunt the ones already infected, and we set a trap." Elsewhere, Yusuf sat across from Doumbia in a cavernous underground facility. Their faces were lit by a glowing digital map of Burkina Faso, key zones marked in red. "Zorgo was a test," Doumbia said. "The next strike will be decisive." Yusuf sipped from his flask. "They won't know what hit them." He paused. "But Traore, he's not finished yet." Doumbia's smile was grim. "Neither are we.